Somebody willing to give a prayer. Who would be willing to give us a prayer today? No? Oh, come on, guys. Last class of the week. One more week until spring break. Did you know that? One more week until spring break. Thank you so much, Anna. Go right ahead.
Okay. Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful that we could come to class today and to learn more about art. And we pray for thy help. And we pray these things in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you so much, Anna. Okay, as you can see, I have quite a few windows open. Not just a few, a whole lot of them, huh? But this is going to be kind of fun. I really like art. Don't you love it? And part of it is because I'd like to say I'm artsy, but I'm really not very artsy. I just enjoy messing around. I have to tell you, one of my favorite things in the world, are you ready for this? Is I subscribe. This is my what do you call it? Kind of like your, kind of like chocolate, right? Kind of an addiction, but something super cool. Anyways, one of my favorite things in the world is I subscribe to a thing called Sketchbox. And on the first day of every month, I get a little bitty box in the mail, and it has a challenge in it, and it has some fun little things that you can play with, and I get something, some new whatever piece of things, but I don't have any idea what it's going to be. And so last week, I finally got mine because, like I said, I've been out of town for the wedding. So my mail came back in on Monday. So Monday I got it. And it was full of really expensive, beautiful pencils from Germany. And I'm just, oh, they're so fun. So this is a lot of fun to be able to see what you can do with the art and to be able to learn something from the great masters. And today we're going to start with looking at philosophy. Anybody know what is philosophy? What is philosophy? Oh, and Shriana, thank you so much for welcoming me back. I'm glad to be back. I love teaching, and it's kind of nice to be teaching from my own den. Not that I didn't mind my mother's kitchen table, but I like having my own office. Okay, so what is philosophy? Anybody know? What is philosophy? What does it mean? Philosophy. Oh, morals and principles. Thank you, Shriana. Does it have something to do with thinking? It does have something to do with thinking. It's really kind of a love of wisdom. I like that. It's very easy to remember. It's a love of wisdom. So if we were to look it up, it is thank you, Shauna says it's a study of principles. It is, it's a study of principles, a love of wisdom. And then 1828 dictionary, it says it's a philosophy is a general term that is an explanation of the reasons of things or an investigation of the causes of all phenomenon. Isn't that kind of cool? So it's the causes of all phenomenon. So I love the idea. I really am not a philosopher, and did not particularly enjoy, I'm going to say it, I did not particularly enjoy philosophy in college. It was a little too abstract for me, but I love wisdom, and I love to be able to learn about wisdom. Right now, I am reading a book called Walden, and it's by Henry David Thoreau. It's the thing I finish my evening with. I like to read before I go to bed. And I just read a few pages. And he talks about living in a cabin and getting away from the world. And this was in the late 1800s. Can you imagine what the world looked like then? And he talks about the hustle and the bustle and the commotion that everybody is always running after stuff instead of pausing to reflect and to think and to really take some time to look at wisdom and look at what they can learn. Now, can you imagine that he said this in the late 1800s? I wonder what he would think of our world today, right? Where we all walk around with a cell phone in our hand, because that's exactly the way we are. We'd hate to be disconnected from something, right? So I like that there are a lot of different definitions, but my favorite definition is it's an investigation of wisdom, truths, and principles. Okay, isn't that kind of cool? I love it. An investigation or a love of wisdom. So how do we create this wisdom? How do we gain more wisdom? How do you gain more wisdom? Study, learn, seek it out. Oh, I love that Shriana's jumping in all of these wonderful, wonderful things. Okay, yes, study, seeking it out. I love that word. Remember in D&C 9:7-9, what does the Lord say to Joseph? Seek it out, right? He says, you thought just to ask me without seeking it out and studying it out in your mind. That's what we're supposed to do. Seek it out and studying it out in our mind. So we're supposed to, seek out the best books. Thank you, Sharona. D&C 118 talks about seeking it out of the best books, right? And that's what we want to do in life. And so when we're looking at art, I want you to look at the great masters. You don't have to be a phenomenal artist, right? No one says you have to do that. But let's look and see what we can learn from them. What kind of wisdom can we learn from there? Anna, thank you so much. She says in seminary, we've been learning that wisdom starts with a reverence of God. I love that. And the interesting thing is when I've been reading this Walden by Thoreau, he says the same thing. You got to look to God first. It's one of the things I like about him. Okay, so right here, I want you to see this right here. This is a picture for us. And this is who? Where are we there? Raphael, right? So we're going to talk about this Italian Renaissance painter. And he became just as skilled and famous as Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. Can you believe it? And he is considered that he actually learned from them. He is the epitome of the Renaissance ideals and values. So this is a self-portrait of him. He did this when he was 23 years old. Okay, now here's the cool thing. He painted this of himself when he was 23. Look, this is what he drew of himself when he was a teenager. Isn't that awesome? Has anyone done a self-portrait yet? Have you done a self-portrait? You tried. Good for you for trying. Okay, so I am going to challenge each of you to sit with a mirror and draw a self-portrait. You don't have to do a wonderful job. It doesn't have to look like Michelangelo did something. But guess what? Just try it. And why? Why would you try it? You can draw stick figures. Thank you, Megan. I'm a stick figure person too. I can doodle any which way you can, but I don't really draw people, right? Okay. What? Why would I challenge you to do that? Because you might as well try. Yeah? But you know what else? Because we get a respect for others when we try something that they do, right? There's a wonderful famous quote that says, you learn a lot from a man when you walk in their shoes. Okay, so I want you to try walking in Raphael's shoes by doing a self-portrait. Now remember, he did this when he was a teenager, so about your age. Okay. Now this picture has a link on it from the lesson 14 in art, so you'll be able to look at it and compare it to what you did later. Okay, his full name was Raffaello Sanzo da Urbano, and he was born in Urbano, Italy in 1483. So in this time, people were given their names, and then at the end, they always put from or of, and so his name was Raffaello Sanzo, and da Urbano means of Urbano, or of the city of, right? So he was born in 1883 in Urbano, Italy, and he learned to be really comfortable in court, and he learned to paint from his father, but he was an orphan when he was 11 years old. He continued his education and was an apprentice to many different master artists. And he apprenticed in Florence and studied Da Vinci's masterpieces while he was in Florence. Wouldn't you love to study from Da Vinci? Remember when we talked about Da Vinci? And I know I've shown you this picture. And why do you think I show you this picture? Actually, I'm just going to I'll show you this picture because I love looking at Da Vinci's journals, right? They are spectacular. So here is this great and amazing man, right? Okay, so look at all the wonderful ways and things that he created and his journals. Can you imagine being able to sit with a master and learn from him? Can you read this? Can anybody read this? Does anybody know how he wrote? Did I tell you this? How did he write? In a mirror image. Thank you, Sharon. He did. You had to hold it up to a mirror. And he did that so people couldn't just lean over the back of him and quickly pick up whatever he was doing, right? It took some effort to be able to steal or to look at his stuff. Okay, so gorgeous, gorgeous journals. So can you imagine being able to learn from a master like this? Wouldn't you like to just sit down and visit with him for a few minutes? I would. Okay, so back here, when we're still talking about Raffaello, let's look at Raffaello here. So here's Raffaello, and Raffaello got to study with Da Vinci, and he worked under 2 popes, and he was best known for his work called the School of Athens. He is considered one of the 3 greatest masters of Renaissance, and he died suddenly when he was only 37 years old. Da Vinci was a master of art, science, and modern technology. Thank you, Sharon. And I would also love to learn from him like you. So Raphael had all of these social graces that he needed. So we already know that he learned and sat with his father in a court as a painter in Urbano. And that upbringing gave him some skills that he needed. And it gave him a wide education in art and literature and philosophy. But here's the cool thing. Unlike many other artists of his time, he had some really very well-developed social skills. So I'm reading you with this quote. And it says, this enabled Raphael to move easily amongst higher circles of court society, and this helped his career in gaining commissions. Compared to Michelangelo, Raphael was more at ease in social circles. He didn't have the same brusqueness that got Michelangelo into trouble. Anthony Blunt says, the opinion was generally held in the middle of the 16th century that Raphael was the ideal balanced painter, universal in his talent, satisfying all the absolute standards and obeying all the rules which were supposed to govern the arts, whereas Michelangelo was the eccentric genius, more brilliant than any other artist in his particular field, but unbalanced and lacking in certain qualities such as grace and restraint, essential to the great artist. Another biographer says this, and I know I'm just reading these straight from the lessons, so you'll be able to read them as well. But I want you to get a sense of who he is, and not just who he is, but what people thought of him. Wouldn't this be kind of cool to be able to read your eulogy today and know what people thought of you, right? That's what this is, kind of like their eulogy. This is what people thought of him. Okay, a biographer, he says, his style was also considered more refined. He didn't have the inventive genius of Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci, but he had a supreme grace of painting. He was a well-respected man. Okay, so look at this. This is Pieta. Okay, Pieta Perugino. So here's Pieta Perugino. Okay, this is one of his, and this here. Just one second, I was looking for the date, which I highlighted, and now I cannot find. Okay, well, we'll get it later. So this is Perugino's painting of the death of Christ, all right? And this is another one of Raphael's artists or masters, and he's one that was one of his very earliest teachers. Okay, so this is Perugino's painting. All right, let's look now at a painting done in 1507 by Raphael. Whoa. Cool, huh? Let me see if I can get this to... No. Okay, wait. I want this one. And I want... Oops. It's not going to let me do it. Darn it. Don't you just hate that? Okay, let's make this one go down. I want to show you something. Are you ready? Okay. I'm going to see if we can put them side by side. Okay, pretty close to side by side. That might be as good as I get. Whoa, what do you think? Very close. Aren't they very close? Amazing, isn't it? So what are the similarities that you see between these two? What similarities do you see between the two of them? I know you can't see the whole thing. Do you see any similarities? The one on the right would be a tad more accurate, and the left it makes Christ seem peaceful and light. It does, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm not sure that he would seem quite as peaceful in that, would he? He had to do a lot of walking, so he was strong. Yes, he was. What other things do you see between the Pieta and Raphael's interpretation? So look here. If you look at Pieta on the left, okay, the Pieta one, notice how firm and let's see, how would you describe it? He looks rigid. Doesn't he look rigid in the Pieta drawing? Yeah. So he looks very rigid. I like also, thank you, Sharon, I'd say both have people wearing clothes to modern clothes of the time. They do. They probably wouldn't be very accurate. I think the one on the right might be a little more accurate than the one on the left, but I don't really know. Notice also in the landscape, one landscape is more realistic than the other one, right? Because we know from the New Testament that Christ did not pass away in a grand Colosseum, did he? And that's what the Pieta looks a lot like that, doesn't it? Okay, so this painting of the Entombment, this one right here, is also, look at that. This is Pieta. Guess who did this one? Michelangelo did this one. Okay, so because Raphael's painting was done after he went to Rome and he had studied Michelangelo's sculptures, many people think that this right here, so difficult to get all on one screen, but isn't it interesting if you look at this, how it is that the body of Christ in Raphael's work really tends to mirror Pieta by Michelangelo, doesn't it? Okay, so remember that this painting over here completed by Raphael was completed in 1507, whereas Pieta over here, the sculpture completed by Michelangelo, was completed in 1499. So it is entirely probable that he did take some of the artistic, right? I like, Triana, that you say this, that it explains pretty well how Mary must have felt after he died. Devastating, right? Absolutely devastating. Okay. So during this time, I might come back to this one, so I think I'm just going to minimize it. But during this time, there was a great and wonderful opportunity, and it was called the School of Athens. All right. What is the School of Athens? You know what it reminds me of? The School of the Prophets. Do you know what the School of the Prophets is? Who knows what the School of the Prophets is? School of the Prophets. School of the Prophets. Yeah, school. It's the School of the Prophets. Do you know what the School of the Prophets is? No, nobody knows. Okay, this is awesome. I love that. I get to tell you something. This is really cool. This was an opportunity where Joseph Smith sat down with the leaders of the church in Kirtland, Ohio, and he sat down and it was above the store of the Newell K. Whitney store. So anybody who's had the opportunity to walk the streets of Kirtland, Ohio has seen this. And up in there, he would teach the elders. He would teach the leaders of the church. Isn't that cool? So when I think about and I imagine the School of Athens, and right here, where's my picture of the School of Athens? Oh, I think I've lost my School of Athens picture. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, so here's my School of Athens. Is that the one? Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so when I look at the School of Athens, and this is a great picture here, okay? And it's numbered so we know who the people are in it. But I often think of the School of the Prophets, the ability to sit down and hear great words of wisdom, okay? So let's go back over here. This is Heraclitus or Michelangelo, right? Now, mind you, it's the same one that's in this picture over here. See him? Number 13. This is why I like the numbers. Okay. So if we look down here, I got a little window, I'm like, Heraclitus, sorry, Michelangelo, right? So here he is down here, and you can see, here's a close-up of him. All right. So when we look at this close-up, many people think that Raphael borrowed this pose from the figure of Michelangelo's depiction of a prophet Isaiah. Now the poses are not exactly the same. I apologize. Nothing like getting a text message in the middle. Isn't that just frustrating? Especially when I'm reading on the same little screen. So anyways, but we can see that there is a similar idea, right? A similar pose. How similar? What differences do you see between these two poses? They're both thoughtful. They lean to the left. The feet are just a little bit different, right? One's crossed over one way, the other's crossed over the other way, but very, very similar. So it's interesting to see how he tried to mirror some of the great and wonderful things. It does look like Michelangelo is writing something, whereas the angel or Isaiah appears to be holding a book. It is fascinating to see how we tend to imitate those that come before us. Imitate those that come before us. So it might be kind of important for us to watch out who we are learning from, don't you think? Who do you want to imitate in your life? Christ? Anybody else you want to imitate? Your mom. That's a good one. I like that. My mom. I got the best compliment at all when I was at this wedding. Somebody came to me and said, "Oh my gosh, you remind me exactly of your mother." And I thought, oh, that's so exciting. I'm so excited somebody said that. Okay, do you want me to tell you who else I want to be like? Who is that? Oh, well, of course it says there, right? President Uchtdorf. I love President Uchtdorf. I would love to be like him. Okay, so we need to be careful who we emulate and who we're studying. And whoever you are with and whoever you study and whatever you're reading, guess what? Whether you want it or not, you will imitate it. You will emulate them. You will become like them. So we want to be sure that we're emulating the greats. So just like Raphael was sitting and learning from Michelangelo, we want to choose and work from and learn from the great people. Okay, so right here we learned how, look at this. Okay, see how his skin starts to look very real in here? And that's what, right over here, the same thing. So Raphael learned how to, create realistic skin from Michelangelo. Okay, so now let's look here. I'm going to get rid of this one. And do we want this one anymore? I'm scared to get rid of that one. We're going to keep that one for a little bit longer. Here's Mona Lisa. Do you like the Mona Lisa? I do. I want to go see it in person one day. One day I'm going to see it in person. But here you go. So here's the Mona Lisa. All right. Now, who drew the Mona Lisa? Who painted that? Oh, Da Vinci. You're right, Anna. Da Vinci, or Leonardo. Thank you, Jacob. You can call him Leonardo as well. But Da Vinci painted it. Okay. Now, look here. This is Saint Catherine of Alexandria. All right, and Raphael painted this one. So we're going to minimize this one for a minute. Pop open that. Oh, see, this is where I get in trouble. Too many things open. I don't want that one anymore after all. Okay. My kids laugh at me because they're like, seriously, Mom, how many windows can you open? You'd be impressed what I could open. Okay, so, whoops, nope, I don't want you up there. I'm going to try one more time here. I want it side by side. Okay. Some things are just not meant to be, right? Okay, Look here. What similarities do you see between these? Do you see any similarities? Clothing style. The hands. Thank you, Anna. The hands was one of the very first things I noticed. The hands are almost identical. Same face. Yes, the nose, very similar. The hair. Mm-hmm. Do you see the wispy kind of veil? I can't be, if I move my pointer, I'm in trouble. But it's almost a wispy veil around each of them on their heads. But I love the hands. The hands are beautiful. What about the backgrounds? What do you see in the backgrounds? Oh my gosh, they are, Sharon. They're almost identical, aren't they? Yeah, the lake. Thank you, Samuel. The lake, isn't it beautiful? But very, very similar, isn't it? So, what happened? Did Raphael imitate and emulate his teacher? He did, didn't he? Okay. So, again, we really want to be careful who we're emulating, right? What it is that we're reading and what it is that we're doing. But Raphael, he didn't just emulate, let me think here, what's a good word? Paintings and techniques in painting and things like that. What else did he emulate? He emulated the wisdom and the philosophy and the things that he was learning. Do you get excited about new knowledge? Oh my gosh, I get so excited about new knowledge. I can hardly wait to share what I've learned. Okay, so look at this. Raphael looked and he says, look, there are 4 branches of human knowledge. There's philosophy, theology, poetry, and jurisprudence. Oh my gosh, look at that. Is that really cool? So look, he says, wow, there's this new way of really dividing knowledge into 4 different spaces. And this was the Renaissance perspective of knowledge, okay, that they were going to be built, or that all knowledge could be categorized this way. So remember our discussion about philosophy? Okay, so let's look back here over here at the great thinkers of philosophy. Who do you see here? This is really cool. Isn't this kind of a cool picture? Because I really like this one. Okay, Zeno. Figures possibly the image of 2 philosophers who were typically shown in pairs during the Renaissance. Heraclitus, the weeping philosopher, and Democritus, the laughing philosopher. So there's 2 and 3 right here. Okay. 3 is unknown, but they think that number 3 was actually Raphael. So later, you get a chance. I'd like for you to increase that and compare it to the self-portrait. Tell me what you think if you think that's him. Okay, here we go. Who else do we have here? Boethius, Averroes, Pythagoras. I need extra credit for being able to say all the names, right? Alexander the Great, Antisthenes, Raffaella Fornarina as a personification of love, or Francesco Maria della Rovere. Let's see, where is that number 9? Right here. Okay. Aeschines. Oh, look here. Leonardo, number 11. Isn't that interesting with the painting, or it looks like a journal in his hand? Okay, number 12 is Socrates. We have Michelangelo in there. It says also another one here. Number 14 is Plato or Da Vinci. That's interesting, isn't it? Okay, Aristotle is there. So as you're looking through this, these are the great names, right? The great philosophers. Do you see why it reminds me of the School of the Prophets? Who attended the School of the Prophets? Do you know? Okay, let's look it up. Oh, well, we got to have our fingers in the right place, first of all. Joseph Smith was there. Oliver Cowdery was there. Encyclopedia of Mormonism. What a great site. Okay. Oh, I just want an easy little list, but here we go. Orson Hyde. Okay, I'm trying to look for a list. I wish there were just a quick list. Parley P. Pratt. So you can see there's quite a few elders that were there. Brigham Young was in there. So can you imagine? Can you see this? Oh, that's cool. Shriana is related to, oh, my doorbell's going to ring and there's going to be barking, and I apologize. I've got missionaries at my door. But Shriana says she's related to Orson Hyde and Joseph Smith. That is really awesome. Okay, so do you think that this, whoops, where's my school? Oh, got too many windows open again. Do you see why it is that I think of this? And I think of what? The School of the Prophets. Look at that. Sidney Hiram Smith is your great-grandfather. That's really awesome. I'm afraid in my family, I'm the pioneer. How's that? Okay. So we don't know, and we don't know all about all these individuals, and we certainly aren't going to be able to learn everything we can and that we know about them already. But Numbers 14 and 15, let's look at them right here. 14 and 15. We can identify them by the books that they're carrying. Plato and Aristotle. Okay, Plato, because his hand is pointing indefinable and to things that are indefinable and immeasurable. And Aristotle, his hand is stretching over all earthly things that can be seen and felt. Wow. So get this. Did you know that people thought that Raphael had used Da Vinci as a model for Plato? Wouldn't that be really cool? Excuse me, could you be my model today? I'd like you to pretend you're Plato. Would you love that? So there it is. Okay, so you have this beautiful, beautiful School of the Prophets, right? School of Athens. Here you go. This is a detail of this picture. All right, where's this detail in the picture? Did you see it? Where do you see that detail? There's that. Here's the detail. Where do you see this detail in the big picture of the School of Athens? Ah, right between 19 and 20. Good job. So that's exactly where it is, right down in here, in this bottom right-hand corner. Okay, so here you go. This here is a detail, and I want you to think about, who is this? 19 and 20? Did you see who it was on the other page? It says right here, Strabo, Zoroaster. I would want to say a Zoroaster, right? No. Zoroaster? Zoroaster? I'm kidding. But also, they think that that might also, or is a possibility of being Raphael. So here you go. Here's your picture. So I want you to tell me, what does it make you think, or how do you think about Raphael painting all of these great mathematicians and scientists? Why the crown? That's a great question, Shriana. I do not know. So tell me, what does it make you think? Is it exciting? Do you think that they would all sit very calmly like this? Or do you think they would having great disputations and discussions? I don't know. I think it would be interesting. Discussions. I think I would see discussions. I think that some of them could get heated, though. Could you not see a little bit of heated over some philosophy or another? I think often about sitting in, even within gospel doctrine, and periodically people say they really heated over their interpretation of one thing or another. And if we can get that heated, wouldn't it be, don't you think it might be the same way with a philosophy? So this work was actually finished, this piece was finished in 1511, and in 1517 is when Martin Luther wrote his 95 Theses. Now I know you just recently studied that, for those of you who've been doing history and literature. I can't remember which class is doing it. Okay, so this is really the time when that Protestant Reformation had been sparked, and by the 1600s, the Roman Inquisition had put Galileo on house arrest. Wow. Do you think that this might have been well received at this time? Actually, and so it would not have been, good answers. It would not have been very well received at the time of the 1600s. But in 1511, when it was finished, it was well received. It was a time when all ancient philosophies and religion were seen as compatible. They were complementary. However, Raphael, remember how old was he when he died? Anybody remember I said at the very beginning? 37. Thank you. He was 37 years old. So remember, he was one of the three greatest Renaissance authors with Da Vinci. And who's our third one? Raphael? Da Vinci. Who's the third great Renaissance artist? Michelangelo. Great job. Michelangelo. I wanted to give you enough time to really be able to type that in there. That's a long name, right? Okay. So think about this. Here he is. Oh, we got rid of Raphael. See, I do that all the time. So when you think about Raphael, you can think now, wow, he was born at just the right time. Okay, so President Uchtdorf, he talks about this same idea of this wonderful ability to have great philosophy and great art and great science and great religious devotion, and that they're all complementary pursuits, just like it was for Raphael. So in our day, President Uchtdorf said, and this was said in 2006, the scriptures encourage us to seek deeply and broadly to gain knowledge of both heavenly and earthly things. What is this knowledge, this intelligence, this light and truth that our Heavenly Father would have us receive? Certainly it's found in the scriptures and the words of the living prophets, but it also includes what we consider to be secular. It is wise, therefore, to keep a balanced and eternal perspective when seeking and studying all knowledge, revealed and secular. If we proceed on this path, we will learn to master ourselves, which in turn enables us to master this beautiful earth and its vast opportunities. And it will help us to become a more effective tool in the hands of the Lord. It will help us to become peacemakers in a world of wars and rumors of wars. So, do you think that we need to separate the study of secular things and the study of temporal things or religious? No, they do not have to be separated. Because why? Do you remember? What does the Lord say? All things are spiritual for him, right? Okay. So President Uchtdorf, he adds this one quote. He says, "My dear brothers and sisters," can't you just hear him saying it? I can hear him saying that. And in 2 weeks, we get to hear him say that. Because every time he talks, he says that, "My dear brothers and sisters." Let us remember that all truth, all pure knowledge can be circumscribed by the restored gospel of Jesus Christ. What does circumscribed mean? What does circumscribed mean? Oh, nobody's going to answer. Circumscribed. You're not sure. Oh, I love it when we learn something new. Isn't this wonderful? Circumscribed. So he used this word circumscribed. Okay, I got to tell you, one of my favorite apps on my iPhone is dictionary.com. And when I have a word that I don't know, I quickly look it up and I will write it in the margins of the books I'm reading, whether it be the scriptures or the ensign, which is where this one quote came from, or just anything that I'm reading. Why? Because then I will remember it. I've learned a new word and I've learned the definition of the word. By writing it down, I have read it. I've seen it. I have written it. So I have felt it. And I can also, I will read it out loud so that I can hear it and speak it. So I can involve 4 of my 5 senses. It helps me to remember it. So circumscribed means to confine. Okay, so he says, "My dear brothers and sisters, let us remember that all truth, all pure knowledge can be circumscribed by the restored gospel of Jesus Christ." He's saying that all knowledge can be confined within the gospel of Jesus Christ. He says, of all treasures of knowledge, the most vital is the knowledge of God, of his existence, his powers, his love, and his promises. I'm going to tell you something wonderful. When I was on my mission president challenged me that exactly, thank you, Anna, it's just kind of like encompassed by, exactly. So my mission president challenged us to sit down and read the scriptures with a pencil color of our choice and to highlight everything that referred to Christ or the Godhead. So we were supposed to highlight if it was, let's see, if it was a title, a name, a description. So for instance, Alma 7, when it talks all about the sacrifice of Christ, that whole area is all highlighted yellow in my Book of Mormon. Okay? So, oh, I like that. So someone says, Shiana says, my bishop did that for every year he was bishop, and the new bishop is considering it again. I think that's a great idea. So you have this wonderful opportunity. So jump into your scriptures and learn about. And remember, why do we do that? Because we want to emulate the master. Who's the greatest master of all but Christ? Okay, there's this wonderful talk. And for whatever reason, we have scrolled to the very bottom. This is my life, I just want to say. If it can be wrong or go wrong, it would definitely go wrong when I need it. Okay, but here you go. Now abide at these three. I have brought this up. There's a link within your lesson. Please be sure to read it. But it talks about the central focus of the gospel message are three things: faith, hope, and charity. Wow. Faith, hope, and charity. Isn't that cool? It's kind of like a three-legged stool. Faith, hope, and charity. If you were to remove one leg on a three-legged stool and you sat down, what would happen? You'd fall over. You got to have all three, don't you? Plunk. That's a great word. Thank you. Plunk. You fall right off it. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to have the courage to develop our knowledge of God. We need to have patience and trust in him. And we wanted to develop our intelligence in all things. I like that part. It's called lifelong learning, right? Lifelong learning because we want to be like Christ. Isn't that awesome? Lifelong learning. Don't you want to be a lifelong learner? Somebody that learns every single day of their life? I hope that's one thing that somebody will say about me in my eulogy at the end of my life, that the biographer will say, oh, Tracy Harrington Atkinson, let me tell you, that woman was a lifelong learner. That's what I want them to say. So to be a lifelong learner. Okay, so let's remember one thing that President Uchtdorf said, to circumscribe, that all knowledge is circumscribed in the gospel of Jesus Christ. Circumscribed, to enclose within a certain limit, to bound, to confine. Anna says to be encompassed by. I like that, to be encompassed by. So in our technological world, we always have knowledge right at our fingertips, don't we? All the time, huh? Yeah? Is it a good thing to have knowledge at your fingertips all of the time? Yes? It can be, can it? I know I was so excited today because I'm trying to connect to the family school to get online and to be able to get to the lesson. And guess what happened? My iPad would not connect. I don't know why, but it would not connect. I was so frustrated. I was so grateful that I had a smartphone and was quickly able to pull it up and to read and to learn what I needed to. Isn't that wonderful? It is. So technology and having that knowledge at our fingertips can be a great thing. Can it be a bad thing? It can be. How can it be a bad thing? Oh, it's so easy to get into mischief, isn't it? So quick. It happens so fast. And you just, yeah, thank you. We can have access to lots of horrible things. It's so true. We do have access to lots of horrible things. It makes your head kind of spin and even hurt, right? Oh, this is even better. Thank you. Just getting distracted and wasting time. Oh gosh, yes. Isn't that true? I was thinking about that yesterday. I was sitting in my car, my Suburban, in front of the school waiting for my daughter to come out. And I was thinking, I got here about 10 minutes early. And I popped open my cell phone And you know what? Instead of reading, answering my emails, I had a bunch of messages from that I needed to take care of for young women's. I didn't do that. We're hosting a big ward dinner. Had a long list of things I could have taken care of. Didn't do that. You know what I did? Sat there and wasted time. Oh, I played 10 minutes of Sky Burger. Can you imagine? Sky Burger of all things. So isn't that ridiculous? So yeah, that access can also help us to be very distracted and to waste our time. And we do not want to do that because we want to be what? A very wise steward, right? We don't want to be like the foolish, what? The foolish virgins, right? We want to be like the wise virgins. And we want to be able to say that we've used our time wisely. How do we determine what's wise? What's a wise use of your time? Can we just sit and reflect sometimes? Yeah, we don't have to be doing something all the time, right? Okay, so as you're looking this week and you're getting ready to do what you need to do, I want you to think about all of these wonderful pieces of knowledge. I want you to think about how you can be a lifelong learner, what you can do to learn from your master. And I want you to remember, who is your master? Do you have a picture of him nearby? Do you have a picture of the temple? Right? I like that. Shriana says the lady at the gym desk, where she goes to the gym every morning, likes to read her scriptures while waiting for people to come to the desk. I like that. That's really cool. Okay, your assignment is right here. If you do not recall what a cause and effect essay is, if you click on that, it'll bring that up for you. Be sure to get your assignment done and turned in. Does anybody have any questions about the lesson today? No questions. Okay, well, let's end our lesson with a closing prayer, and then I'll answer some of these other questions that are coming in. Who would be willing to give us a closing prayer today? Shriana can. Thank you very much, Shriana. Go right ahead.
Alright, you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, grateful for this day, grateful to have a good day today and be able to learn of different philosophers and artists and scientists, and thankful also to reflect on who we're learning from and who we're following, and please help us to remember to follow thee, and please help us to continue for our spirit today. So in Jesus Christ, amen.